And then y'all gonna put me up behind Hawkins. Lord, have mercy. I do want to say that all is not bad in Reverend Bond's life. It's actually been a blessing. Many of you have met the young lady I've been coming to church with. Some of y'all know her as Dale or Fix It Dale. I now know her as my wife. Now my task for the evening is to deal with the misused faces. I actually picked this one only because I just saw number 5 and I told the brother I'll do whatever's next, and it happened to be number 5. I should have thought about that a little harder. Because it kind of puts me in a position. I got to come behind all these great theologians who just explained the faces and then tell y'all how y'all mess them up. So it's going to be brief. Trust me, y'all know me. I'm a stickler for time. I'm big, but I ain't got a lot of wind. Also, thank and praise God for our new pastor-elect. I haven't had I look forward to I had a chance to meet you. Well, I met you officially. Actually, we took some classes together. Yes. So I just look forward to working with you, Doc. Schedule gonna get there. We're gonna be all right. The king face, as so eloquently put before, really is a face of integrity. Well, how can you misuse integrity? Well, the problem becomes when you are pushed one way too far to the other. Because when the king face is pushed too far one way, he becomes more like a bully or a tyrant, a dictator. He becomes the one that, though he must be about his business and handling his business, when you pushed into a corner, you tend to overdo it. So that's what the general onset about all these things will be, all these faces tonight will be, is when you overdo them, there is a consequence. And when you underdo them, there is a consequence. And I need that to be relevant in your spirit as you look back over this tonight and as you play these things in your mind. And I can get through them quicker with y'all doing that little homework. If you overdo it, as a king, you can be considered a bully, you know. But if a king underdoes it, or is not pushed as hard as he should be, he tends to find himself to be compromised. He tends to struggle to do what he knows he should be doing and settles for what can be done. That's why integrity is key. That's why the king face is so important to man. Warrior face. I'm moving. Y'all got to keep up with me. Yeah. The warrior face talks about basically being courageous. Not just a fighter, but courageous enough to take on the fight. And as my brother so eloquently talked about, we've had our moments in our lives where we stood up for fights. But what I also got to say is when we misuse that face, we stood up for the wrong fight. We put ourselves in a position. We fight for the wrong to get to the good, not for it to be that bad. And we must realize and understand that that face itself, when pushed too hard, becomes a destroyer. Because it destroys the very fabric of the situation it's trying to defeat. And that's pushed too far. But then you got that joker that's not pushed enough. And in real simple layman term, he's just a wimp. He's just a weakling. He's scared to do what he know he got to do. Now, if some of us will be honest with ourselves, we put ourselves in situations where we were really too scared to do what we should have been doing right in the first place. That's the warrior face. It is not just the face of fight. It is the fight. It is the face, of courage. Quickly moving, the friend face. Friend's face is that face that is the reason why we have the connections that we have. As my brother illustrated earlier, we all hopefully have that friend, or have had that friend, that we could rely on no matter what. When family looks strange, when those you thought were in your corner were not there, that friend was there. But it's interesting, even when you push that friend too far, you do come up with an interesting, that's the word I want to use, an interesting dilemma. Because friends pushed too far have a tendency to become leeches, because they attach to that friend and soak and drain everything, because that's my friend. Because I know my friend got my back. I know my friend gonna walk with me and talk with me. And then you're not standing on your own, you're leeching off your friend. But then you got those friends that when they get pushed the other way, when there's that minus to it, those are the ones who tend to isolate themselves and become loners. Even my brother shared, no one really likes to be alone. Brother, and I'm not here to correct you, but I just know this. There are some who put on that face who are loners because they want to be alone. Because they are afraid of stepping up to be what a real friend face should be. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying I want to sit in the corner and nobody bother me. But I don't want the responsibility of being there for you. That's a loner. That's a friend. And that's the downside of it. I told you I'm moving. Now we're down to love. Lord, y'all put me behind Hawkins with the loving face. Take a breath. All right. The lover face really deals with relationships, period. Now, because we've said this is men talk and this is the authentic manhood that we've been deriving these texts from, and the Reverend is absolutely right in how we should treat our wives. Amen. How we should make sure that when they speak of us, it's not, yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's him. You know, because it tickles me now because I'm not so used to it, and she's real quick to go, my husband. That would throw me, y'all. That one, that right there one. But what it does do, though, is it does warms my spirit, because it respects me enough and the effort I give to acknowledge me in my position. And when we talk about the lover face, the relationships we develop with each other, man or woman, we should be able to see love coming from a brother just as a sister in how we treat each other. It's relational. That's that lover's face. But what happens when it's too much of that lover's face? Then you run into that joker that wants to micromanage you, wants to be a little abusive, a little bit of controlling. Because I love you, so I need you to do it this way. And that's where we got to be careful when pushed too hard in that lover's face. But then, what is not pushed enough? That's when you become isolated. And that's when you're unable to strengthen or even start those relationships you need to go through. As I bring this to a close, the misused faces are the extremes of the four faces. And what I charge all of us to do, it is impossible for us all to stay right in the middle, right on task, each and every time for each and every face. It's impossible. Life, times, and these bodies don't allow us to do it as consistently as we need to. All I'm standing up here doing is, I'm giving you a barometer. Are you doing too much and becoming too aggressive in that face? Or are you doing too little and doing a little bit of nothing in that face? Because when it comes down to it, you still got to be face to face.